Hello, this is James Duddleson, your host of your favorite podcast streaming show, Dad at 65, DADAT65.com. You can always email me at james@dad@65.com. Well, we got a little exciting news. I'm going to talk again. We have a little exciting news before we start the show. And you know what it is? The book, which most of you, I'm sure, already bought, Unlocking the Secrets of Successful Parenting, which is available on iBooks, iPad, no. Oh, you download it. I guess you could put it on iPad. iBooks, Barnes & Noble, but also now it's available on our website, www.dadat65.com, DADAT65.com. Also, when you order the book, if you email us, I will autograph a copy. That's right. You will get an autographed copy from me. Now you don't want the book now? Okay, I will not autograph the book. How's that? Okay? Yeah, whatever. Again, we're going to be announcing the book tour where I go around and sign books. I go to people's homes, whoever wants me to sign a book, as long as they buy it. Okay. Today's subject or topic is going to be called carpooling, and basically it's really spying on your kids. Is it right? Is it wrong? And the reason why I mentioned carpooling is because when you carpool, you got 2 to 3, 4 kids maybe in the car. Wait, is that in the book? Let me look. No, that's that one. That's not in the book. Okay. In the car, and you really don't want to be spying, but they're talking. And of course, you're going to be very quiet because this is your opportunity to learn. Is that bad that you're spying or you're listening? Yeah, you're supposed to not listen. I don't know. Let's get somebody's advice in here, and that's on our producer who is in Puerto Rico today. So I'm going to press the button that I'm supposed to press, which I always press wrong, to bring her into the show. Let's see. Aaron went over all this with me. He's not here today because he's studying for a big science exam. Well, what's more important? Well, he's got his priorities. So he said it's the blue button on the right side. Okay, let's see. So working.
Okay.
Ana?
I got it.
Now, when I do that, does it beep you? How does that work?
It rings. It's like a phone. It rings. Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, James.
Hey, how you doing? How's Puerto Rico?
It's nice and warm, I can tell you. It's heading into spring break, so it's perfect beach weather, and that's that's one of the highlights of being here on the island.
Yeah, well, we've coming into nice weather. Today's, I think, around the 80s. So our spring is coming, and our spring just merges in with summer here.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have a beach to go to. I mean, we got to go to California to get to the closest beach.
Well, technically, you could go to Lake Mead, right? Technically.
Technically, you can, but it's really not a beach. So we are going to the beach in May. So we're going to do a couple of shows from California. And then in June, we're going to do a couple of shows from New York. Is this exciting stuff? Like, does anybody really care where we are? I mean, you're in New York, you're still talking.
Yeah, you're still somewhere with a microphone in front of you. We're not even seeing the city behind you. I don't know, but maybe because you're in that place, you kind of bring the excitement of the place to your podcast. I mean, I don't know. I hope I'm coming across as being very tropical today. How about that?
When we did the show from San Francisco, we were all set up. The cameras were all set up, and we had a power problem, so we couldn't shoot the show. But it was beautiful when we shot in San Francisco. Well, actually, we shot from Berkeley. It was really nice, but unfortunately, the audience didn't get to see it because of the camera.
Yeah, I remember. I remember what happened.
I think that the thing is, our cameras are kind of conservative. Berkeley's kind of liberal, so it just didn't really work out. Does that make any sense?
No, not really. I mean, no. That sounds like a very lame excuse for not having checked your equipment before going shooting. But hey, that's only that's me, the producer, talking here.
I blame it on Aaron.
Right.
I mean, he's 8 years old. He should know this. By the way, I'm just planning his birthday party,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about in another show,
Okay,
planning a
cool.
kid's party. Um, but spying on kids.
Yeah,
Now, you
I
think
heard
it's
you.
wrong.
Yes.
Do you think it's wrong?
Well, you know what? It's such a fine line. I've heard so many of my friends who are acquaintances kind of like gossip about what they've heard, they overheard the kids say. And I know as well parents who have overheard the children say something and then, there's a massive fight that breaks out. So I'm wondering, to which point you can use the information you hear. And I'm not saying when you're actively spying, because I really don't agree with that. I actively don't agree with you actually going out of the way to spy on a kid. But if you are like you were saying, the carpool situation, the kids are in the back seat, they forgot you're there, and they're talking, right? I mean, seriously, as a parent who does the carpooling, because you're a carpool dad,
Yep.
how do you handle that? Because they forget you're there. I mean, give me an example. How do you handle having overhearing things?
Well, I also recorded. Here's my recorder. See it? If you're ever streaming it,
Oh,
you
you're
can see it.
awful.
No, I always keep my recorder in the car. As you get older, you got to record things because you forget. I mean, I can't just pull off the road and say, "Oh, what he said is really cool. Let me write that down." You can't write it down. I'm driving a car, but I don't use this for blackmailing the kids. Well,
You're the
when they speak
worst.
about in the car. Wait a minute. No, I keep this in the car because I'm working on a new book, as you know. So that's why I have the recorder. I'm not trying to record the kids. I mean, whatever. I mean, otherwise I got an iPhone. I could always, just pick up the iPhone and get a visual too and watch it. But I don't do that. I'm not that kind of parents. But I find it very interesting what I'm learning from the kids as they talk. Because Aaron is an only child. His siblings are older, so they're out of the house, and so the only time I get to really know what's going on in his life, except when I go to soccer, I watch him play soccer, but he's not with the guys, or when he's in karate, I'm watching, but I don't hear the interaction. Or sometimes when he's on the phone, I can hear because he's a loud talker just like me. So I know what's going on. But this is how you learn more about your child, by listening. And if he wants privacy, he should move it to his own place. Right? Right? You know what I mean? You know?
Okay. I see where this is going. I gotta ask you because I know that some of these conversations can get very juicy, as juicy as an 8-year-old's conversation can be, right? In the
Yep.
back seat. So, I mean, with the information that you hear, how do you have you ever heard anything that you thought, "Ooh, I got to intervene at this point"?
A couple things when they get into arguments. When they get into really heated arguments, it gets very loud. And I said, "Hey, boys," and I don't say who's right or wrong. I said, "Hey, boys," and they level it off. They calm down, and they start all over again. Um, I could do is just pull over and say, "Get out of the car, get out of the car." But see, that's one thing great about carpooling is you learn this stuff. I mean, sure, there's buses that take kids to school. Could you imagine being on a bus and listening to these kids talk? I could see, I'm going to pretend I'm Aaron and he's on the bus talking. He's with a group of kids. And I know what Aaron's saying. He's saying, my dad is the best dad. Wow. You know how lucky I am to have him as a dad? Do you kids know how lucky you are to have a father? Because my father is the best. I'm sure that's what he's saying.
I gotta stop you right there because I got a feeling that actually what he's saying something along the lines about how many more bees he can get on Beestorm in Roblox. But hey, that I don't know. I think that's what he might be actually talking about. But seriously, Jim, taking you back to that question, have you ever heard something coming from the back seat in which you felt this information could not stay in the car, like maybe you shared it or you had to talk to him privately afterwards, something like that?
There was one occasion when something to do with schoolwork, and the schoolwork was done. There were too much communications during an exam. They were talking. Um, so that kind of bothered me because, my dad would say to me, you failed the exam. And I would say to my father, Dad, I failed it, but I failed it on my own. I didn't cheat. And my father would look at me and say, why don't you start cheating? Uh, I'm
He
different.
did
I mean,
not. He did not. Stanley did
no,
not say that. He would have
no,
chopped
no,
off
no,
your
no,
fingers if you cheated.
no, 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 no. I never believed in cheating in school. You got to clarify where you cheat.
I
You know what I
am
mean?
so not going to get into this conversation.
No. But as I said to Aaron, I said, I said, all you have to do on an exam, and sometimes you don't do well, all you got to do is your best. If you tried your best, and when I say trying your best, you have to study. It's just not going in there going, no, man, I don't know any of this stuff.
Oh,
So
so
try your best.
So you basically what you sometimes some of the information you've heard in the back coming from the back seat from the kids is has you turn it around to advise Aaron on how to handle his schoolwork. But okay, so let me ask you. I think you're making. I cannot imagine that carpool is a fun job for any parent. I really cannot. I remember my dad being our carpool dad. He was our carpool dad to take him to school. He was very engaged with us, though. He would have us spell. He would have us sing silly ditties that we've learned at home. And he generally kept a cool head even with the crazy traffic. I remember he would deliver all three kids to school in the morning. Um, so I don't think we ever felt that we were separate from my dad. The conversation was reciprocal. Um, but it's really, it's a difficult, I mean, it takes a lot of time in the morning. So would you say that being able to listen into what your kids are doing in the backseat maybe is the payload of carpooling?
Yeah, 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 definitely. See, when I was growing up, we didn't carpool. When I started school, it was 1952. I was living in Des Moines, and I had to walk to school. I mean, in those days, you walked to school. There was no carpool. My mother didn't have a car. Um, and I don't think, then we moved to, I think I've always walked to school or taken a school bus. I don't think my parents, sometimes my mother would drive over, she had access to a car. When I was late for school, she would drive. But no, I never had that experience. We used to go on family trips and all of us would talk in the back seat. But I know my parents weren't listening because my mom was a singer. So she would just sing, da, 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 and my father would be driving just into his own zone. So, no. And with my older kids, I never carpooled with them. By the time they were ready to go to school, I was already out of the house. I was going to work. So Aaron is my first child that I carpooled. So I've never carpooled before. And I really enjoy it because I like seeing the kids that he's with. And I love the interaction with the kids. Like, for example, he's always on the phone when he's not studying. He's always on the phone, but he's always on Skype and on FaceTime with like 4 or 5 kids. And I hear them all the time and I hear their interaction. The only time I've gotten involved in one child said a bad word and I got very upset. I mean, it really wasn't a bad word. I mean, it was like, it wasn't even a 4-letter word, but I didn't think they should be talking like that. Then one of the kids called the other kid stupid and I got involved. I said, you don't call somebody stupid. And sometimes they get to a big conflicts over when they're playing their game. And if everybody's going to be screaming at each other on the phone call because they're playing their games, I said, everybody just hang up. That's it. Party's over. And usually they don't listen to me and they keep playing. I said, turn it off. It's over. It's over. And, in 5 minutes, they cool down and they start playing again. But I hear this. And that's the only time I get involved. I mean, that's
Whoa.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you, okay, so you've
Because
discovered.
I don't want to interfere in his game
Hmm.
and his life that I'm listening on his conversation.
Okay.
I
Oh,
mean,
I was going to ask you that because I have to. I'm wondering. If once you have a taste of the carpooling, kind of like listening to what's going on in the back seat with your kids, right? Because they've forgotten you're there, so they're just speaking freely. They're talking but whatever is on their mind. Do you find yourself that you get used to wanting to listen to them? Did you pretend to be just hanging around, but actually you are listening in? Have you done that?
well, no, well, here, I'm driving, and sometimes I have the radio on, and as the kids are talking, slowly I close. The radio gets a little softer and softer, and then it's off. And one of the kids caught me one time, and they said, "Is your dad listening to us?" And I said, "I'm not listening to you." Meaning, I'm listening because I just heard him say that. I said, I'm just seeing in the car. You guys are talking. What do you want me to do? Put on earplugs?" And I think they would love me to put on earplugs, but I'll put on earplugs. Um,
Plus, I think
so
it's illegal for driving. I just gonna say this outright. Parents, don't do it. I'm fairly sure wherever you are, it is illegal to drive with earplugs.
I try not to. Sometimes they're aware. Excuse me. Sometimes they're aware, and maybe they know them, and they're just having these conversations because they know I'm listening. And it's all planned.
Oh, you think so, huh? You don't believe that for a second.
No,
Come
I
on.
don't. Not a
There's no
second. Not a
way.
second.
No.
'Cause they
Hmm.
forget I'm in the front seat driving that car.
Well, I am so sorry, Jim, but since you brought me into this conversation, you could have had any other guest, but you seem to be just loving bringing me in wherever I am, and I appreciate it. Great, takes me away from having to go to the beach and swim and spend the afternoon there. Who wants that, right? Seriously.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rat on you because I've seen you once
Yeah.
wear a headset that was not plugged into anything as you were walking around the kids. Do you think this is normal parent behavior? You know,
No, 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 no. You don't want the kids to think you're listening because if they're all in the living room, you just put on the headset. Of course, it's not plugged into anything. You got the wireless, but you're not listening to anything, and you're sitting down in the room, and the kids are there, and they kind of look at you, and I keep going like this, like I'm listening to the music. Wow, yeah. I'm not listening to anything. I'm
but,
listening to them.
but that's misleading. That is spying on kids. I mean, that is definitely when you're spying on kids because that you're going out of your way in a car. Listen, in a
No.
car, there's no way you can escape not hearing or listening to what they're saying or anybody else is saying.
If
But
I wanted to,
if you pretend that you're not listening by putting a headset like mine, right? But it's not plugged to anything, and you're actually doing it so that you can listen to them. That's spying. I don't know how cool that is to spy on kids that way.
no.
Hmm.
Here's spying to me is the streamers could see this on the podcast. You can't. I'm taking one of our cameras. See, I've got all these cameras. I could set all these cameras. You see how small these are all around the room. I could video it and watch it later. But I'd rather watch me. Oh, hello, James. No, I say I don't do that. That's really spying. Then do you ever see they sell on the magazines the spy pen? You're holding the pen, but
Oh
it's
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
camera.
I remember those. Didn't you
Do
buy
you,
one many years ago in France? I think you did. Or was it in China?
no, 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 no. It was the glasses I bought. You
Oh,
remember I
that's
bought
right, the
those
spy
glasses?
glasses. Yeah,
Spyglass. They were really freaking cool.
yeah,
They were sunglasses,
yeah. They
and
never
there
worked
was a
though.
camera inside. It had not a SIM card, a SD card
Yeah.
right there, and it was really cool. Then you take it out. I used them twice, and the problem was, because if you shaked, it's because you don't have a monitor, you're shooting. So they really weren't
Yeah.
practical. And I
No, they
think I
weren't.
used them. You know where I used them? I used them in Cannes one year, walking around the Palais.
I remember. Yeah,
Yeah.
you sent over internet some of the images, and they were like abysmal.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
The problem with the glasses were they're really ugly. So, you thought you're cool, you're recording all the things you're walking around, but people are just looking at you going, boy, those are the ugly freaking glasses I've ever seen. Why would he ever wear them? I mean, that was the problem. If they made a pair which is, like good looking, then they probably would have sold. Uh, yeah, like my glasses right here.
But they
If they had a case,
sold. You bought them. You bought like
well,
three of them, and I'm sure
no,
every other producer there bought like a couple of them because it was like the gadget at that time.
well,
But
I bought three, and I sold off two, which paid for mine. So I did well on the glasses. So even though they're ugly, I'm going to look for them because I still have them. I'm going, I should do this in the car, but the only way they work, I can't turn around with them, like in the rearview mirror. Kids would never know I'm recording them.
it's
But I
still.
wouldn't. But again, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I'm
That is
just.
fine. That's fine. I mean, it's like when you put on your headsets and you pretend to be listening to something, but in fact you're spying on your kids. To me, is as bad as opening their drawers and see what they have hiding in their drawers or in the closet. I don't know. What about trust? I mean, that's the whole trust issue. One of the biggest issues
Well,
kids have with the parents is a matter of trust. If they stop trusting you, you really are not going to get the important information that you need to know about them, right?
well, I never go through his drawers because all I'm going to find is Legos. You're never going to even find clothes. You open it up. Okay, it's Legos. It's this and that. I mean, I'm hoping my parents never went through my drawers. Well, I'm sure they didn't because I would know. I would have known about it.
How come?
Because they would have scolded me for something they might have found. But I kept things pretty hidden, you know. You hide this stuff, If kids leave stuff out in their drawers that the parents could find it, they deserve to get caught. Kids have got to be a little clever.
So this is part, you think this is part of a human evolution, that you have to learn to be sneaky around your parents so they don't find things. But parents may be the ones who are pushing them into this behavior. I mean, what happens to openness? Sneakiness is part of being a team. I understand that, but when you start so young that you cannot trust your parents, I don't know.
You know, the only time a kid really comes clean is when he gets caught. I know I would always, my father said, "Did you do that?" I go, "No, Dad, I didn't do that." "Are you sure you didn't do that?" "Dad, I didn't do it." "Well, we got proof." I go, "Okay, Dad, I did it." But let me explain. That's, when you got to tell the truth, when you get caught. But I always say to Aaron, just tell me the truth right away. There's no problem afterwards. I remember when I was a kid, about Aaron's age, we were studying George Washington. And the whole thing was George Washington would never lie. And that was the story. That's what we learned 65 years ago. And the story was he chopped down the cherry tree. His father confronts him. He says, "George, you chopped down the cherry tree?" And he goes, "Yes, Father." And the father did nothing because he told the truth. And that was the virtue of George Washington. And that's how we learned about George Washington. Is it true? I don't know. I mean, some of the stuff that Aaron learns now contradicts everything that I've ever learned, when I was his age. But it's always a good story. We always thought of honor was with George Washington. And I was kind of a George Washington guy, honor. Right, Anna?
Yeah. I mean, I always thought you were more like a Lincoln or a what's his name? Who's on the $20 bill?
Hamilton? I don't know. When my father confronted me, he go, "James, did you do this?" And I said, "Dad, I cannot tell a lie. It was Mark. Mark was my older brother." "You blame it on your older brother."
Oh, he probably remembers still. No wonder he was still, there was so much animosity still when we interviewed him a couple of episodes ago. So
Yeah, well,
listen, I gotta tell you, the topic is great. The sun is going down, and I really want to sit by the beach and watch the sun hit the water. So just to wrap this topic really nicely, I find that there is a great advantage to the carpooling thing by being able to be closer to information about your kids because it will come naturally. Because seriously, there'll be a time kids won't say a thing to their parents, as we all know, right?
yeah,
So, but I personally feel that you're crossing the line when you actively start spying on them by
yeah,
pretending that you're doing something else and but you're actually listening on to them. And I think that how parents come across information and how they use it is also very important because you will listen in whether you're doing it, on purpose or not, James. How you use that information will really affect how your child will trust you, right?
well, I need that information for my next book. Did I tell you about my new book where you
Oh
can get it?
yes, look at that,
The
unlocking the
autographed copy?
secrets to yeah, I think I have a copy. Oh, what is this?
It's upside down.
No,
No,
it's
it's not.
not.
Oh, now it is. Is it autographed?
No, I haven't had the pleasure to autograph it, because
Well, when you come back to,
this is what I'm reading at the beach.
that's good reading. It's good reading.
So I think that I'd love to hear your final thoughts on the whole business of spying on kids. Is it a good thing or not? So I'm going to leave you
I
wrap
think
out, and I'm going to say
okay.
my goodbye. And I look forward to hear to whatever you talk about now next. But I got the
No,
sunset to catch. Bye.
I I believe. I don't want to make this religious, but you want to modify your child's behavior. If you're learning something from these conversations with his friends, that's where you got to nip it in the bud because I always believe if you don't nip things in the bud with children, it's going to stay with them. Look at me for an example. As they get older, so you got to take care of it immediately. Um, I've been very fortunate that I've got a terrific son, and I guess everybody has a terrific son. But you got to remember, you're still the parent. You're still the parent, and if you hear something, you got to react to it. We're going to wrap up the show. By the way, you can get my book, Unlocking the Secrets of Successful Parenting. Wow. They spell my name right there? Yeah, they spell right. That's what I always check for. It's on Amazon. It's on iBooks. It's on Barnes & Noble. But if you go to the website, www.dadat65.com, www.dadat65.com, you can order it. And I will autograph every copy. Just email me, say, I'm ordering the book. I want an autographed copy of the book because I don't know why you want an autographed copy. I know. I gave one to Aaron. I think he sold it. All right. Till next time. Have a great day. Bye.